So life is very simple. It's so simple that there's no need to talk about it. So it's so simple. What can you tell? What can you say? And normally, what's going on when there's me and the story, and I'm here, and how can I deal with everything? And there's a lot of talking and a lot of thinking about what to do and how to do, and a lot of opinions about what's the best and what's wrong and what's right. So in the story, there's a lot of talking about what's going on, how is life, what is happening, and how are you doing this or that, getting advice or seeking for some reason or meaning. There's a lot of things going on. So it seems in meetings that it's can be talked about that. And there can be talking in the story. But in the end, there are no answers. It's what's happening and what can you say about it? It's always different. It's very simple. It's already what is happening. So nothing is new in that way. It's already. So there's nothing to learn, nothing to understand, nothing to do. There's no one. That's maybe different than other meetings. No, they're saying there's no one. And when there's no one, nothing is happening to you. So there are also no thoughts, no my thoughts. There are only thoughts. There are no my feelings. It's feelings. And they don't happen in your body. It's also not happening in the body. Nothing is real. That's something that's not not very often talked about, that everything is an appearance. It's nothing happening, and there seems to be an appearance of walls and people, bodies, streets, feelings, sounds. It's going nowhere. And that's new in a way that you could say that normally there's talking about meaning and purpose and what can we do and all that. And in this meeting, there will be no meaning, no destination. There's no truth. This is not about knowing. There's only not knowing. Not Rose is not knowing or something like that. That makes it in an abstract way. That makes it in a way a little bit special. There's nothing special about this. It's very ordinary. There's no one. It doesn't mean that there's a body and there's no one inside. If they're talking about Rose, there's no Rose. Rose is just that. It seems like we're talking about Rose and then you see that face looking. It's an appearance. There's nothing existing. It's only apparently. And that's crazy because we use that apparent like it's like a little bit like it's not that much real. But when they're saying no, nothing exists. It's only an appearance. That means you don't exist. There's no one. So that's the freedom. That's also the freedom because it's about nothing. It's about what's going on without meaning. Without purpose, there's no development. It's going nowhere. It is. It's what it is, like that. No, you don't need to say that to yourself because that's a new way, a kind of concept trying to deal with what's going on. Oh, it's what it is, something like that. It's just what's happening, people say. That's a new concept about dealing with what's going on. And there's no one, nothing is needed, and there's feeling, maybe a feeling can arise, or the table. There's no center. Normally what's going on in the story, there's a center. There seems to be a center and everything is happening to me. Circumstances happen to me. There's a relation between me and other people maybe, or things it's trying to deal with. Money, power, powerless. And then they're saying, no, there's no center. There's nothing is happening to you. It's what is happening to no one. And no one is not something. And that's the difficulty with the describing. It's so quickly coming into like, oh, there's no one. So there's no one here inside. Or it's talking to no one. Oh, there is a no one. No, there is not a no one. that makes it into something, and it isn't something. It's in that way, it's impossible to say, because there's nothing going on. There's no center, there's no Rose, there's a feeling. So there's not a life of Rose or somebody else. That's a construct. We are so quick in trying to imagine what's going on. Yesterday I was looking at a movie, just a little movie, and then there was a man, and he wrote a book, and he was with his pupils, and then he said, "What is a country? Does a country exist?" And then everybody was looking. Yeah, of course. And then he said, "No, it's only existing in your mind." I was like, "Oh my God, what's going on here?" And it was just a short piece of that, but there's no countries, there's no world. Yeah, there's no world. It's an imagination, and the mind and the brain can abstract. We can imagine what's going on, like borders and countries, and this is my border, all that. There's behind, there's before. So when there's me, there's living in time, it's living in space, like distance. And then there's hearing this and then saying, no, there's no time, there's no space or distance. There's only what is happening. It's one, a feeling, a sensation, sound, table. It's going very quick, of course. And it's everything. It's everything. That's the freedom. There's nothing what isn't it. It's everything. So you can't look for it because it's everything. It's hiding, you could say. It's hiding by being everything. It's already. And there can be suddenly when there's I'm here and there's seems to be something missing or not right yet, or this is not good enough, then there's a looking for something. And that something is always different than what it is. So there's looking for something else in a way. There's no something else. There's only what is. So that something else, it's an imagination how it could be or should be. There's this. That's the freedom. And there's nothing going on about right and wrong. It's what it is. So that's the two, talking in dual world. Like there's always two, like right and wrong and better and worse, things like that, nice and awful. It's what it is, a feeling, a sensation, a sound. So it can be everything. This is not about talking about nice or feeling more happiness or how can I feel more freedom. That has nothing to do with that. There's already freedom. This is already free. Maybe it's not looking the way you think you want it, but it is freedom. There's only freedom. So it's everything. There are no relations also. When there's a relation, there needs to be someone and someone there. There's no relation. There is what's happening. And we can talk in the story, of course. When there's questions, most of the questions can be in the story and thinking about how to deal with this and what is that and all that. There can be every question. There's no question which is silly or odd or wrong. There's nothing wrong, of course not. That can be about mothers, what I sometimes say, or anything. There's nothing wrong. There can't be a wrong question. It's impossible. It doesn't matter. It's what is happening. So it's happening by itself. It's not you doing that. It's happening in that way. And that's the perfection. It's already complete. As it happens, as it is.
So this is empty fullness. This is the formless form. This is nothing as everything. It's boundless energy, which also is contracted energy. Contracted energy is a boundless energy in a contracted form. So the whole thing is energetic as far as I'm concerned. It's all energy. When two people meet and talk together, there's an exchange of energy, which is beyond the words. And if there's a meeting in which there's a teacher and seekers, and that's another exchange of energy. In that case, the energy that's exchanged is the energy of intention, of agenda, of a movement, of an idea of getting somewhere, because the teacher is speaking to the people in a dualistic way and talking about them making a choice which could lead them to some sort of result. This is energetically what happens. And when people are listening and joining in that sort of meeting, then to a certain extent, they are the energy of intention is what affects them quite a lot, or can do. So they get embroiled in the whole idea and the whole sense of learning something, of understanding something, in order that they can reach somewhere. This is the energy of dualism. It's happening in all sorts of ways, but in our subject, obviously, that can arise quite a lot because there are many apparent teachers, and there are many also people who think that they can teach people non-duality. Joke. When there is a meeting which is seekers talking to no thing, to nothing which has any energy, no one, then somehow that whole question answer thing ceases to be like it was before, and the questions that are asked fall into a kind of void. There is no one that the questions are asked of. There is no one that would give a response that would feed the idea of intent or meaning or purpose. And in some way or other, that's a different sort of energy. And when people watch or are involved in that sort of meeting of the intention, the seeker, trying to find something out of nothing, then somewhere there's an influence there. That energetic sense can be felt, and a resonance can arise, an ephemeral, unknowing evidence, energy can arise, which can be sensed but not identified. The words are also valid in a way to some extent, in that the ideas and beliefs that the seeker might have encountering those words, that those ideas and beliefs may become dismantled or they unravel in some way or other. But that's a fairly superficial thing that can happen. The main thing that happens, as I say, is energetic. Okay, I would like to say that what is sought, what we look for, is something that's very simple and natural. It's the empty fullness. It can't be understood, can't be known. And so for the seeking energy, it's a mystery. And the seeking energy doesn't like a mystery, so it wants to try and understand or work out what is being talked about so that it can turn it into a something that it can know. There are many, well, quite a few people communicating this in different ways and feeding the hunger of the seeking mind. And some of the explanations that are now being, the people are talking about, are quite complicated, and they're also insisting, but they're at the same time insisting that nothing can be understood, which is of course another understanding. But there are many convoluted and complicated explanations about the nature of, let's call it, non-duality, and the sense is that somewhere they're trying to convince people that there's something about there's a strange idea that the non-duality has many aspects which have to be comprehended. But the problem with all of that is that it generates an idea in the seeker that if they can go on understanding or not understanding something, or go on listening to all sorts of concepts and ideas, somehow this generates a hope in them that something will come out of listening to all those ideas and putting all those suggestions and recommendations together. It creates a sense of hope, that sort of communication. There's nothing right or wrong with that. This is the beloved. This is nothing arising in this form, arising in this sort of communication. So there's nothing right or wrong with it. But of course, the energy of intention, which is directed at the seeking mind, does generate a sense of hope. But nothing is without hope. Nothing doesn't have anything to offer. Nothing is simply coming out of and can only illuminate the fact that all there is is nothing apparently happening.